Hey y'all, it's your girl Stephanie, and I just wanted to take some time to acknowledge and dedicate this episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast to my sister, Nikki Bougie, who we unfortunately lost on this day 1 year ago. If you knew her, she was the most passionate and loud person for anything that she believed in wrestling and anyone that she believed in. And I count myself fortunate to have been loved by her and to have been encouraged by her during her lifetime. And I wanted to take some time to talk about how much I miss her and how much I adore her. I am so happy that Trey Miguel, the current TNA International Champion, posted about her and how they met up in LA 3 years ago during WrestleMania weekend. And seeing this picture really warmed my heart because she truly loved and went hard for Trey Miguel, harder than most. And she is the reason why I even know who Trey Miguel is. And I'm just so grateful for her fandom of him. I'm grateful for her voice, and I'm grateful for all the ways in which she pushed me to be my best self in writing and in podcasting and in every way manageable in life. So, Nikki Bougie, I speak your name forever and always. I love you so much, my sister, and I hope that over the past year, I've made you proud from up above. And I can't help but think of you every time I watch wrestling or see Charlotte or watch wrestling or see Trey Miguel and the Rascals or anyone. And I just wonder, what would she say about this thing? What would she say about this person at this stage? But I am more than sure that you have the best seats in the house where you're at, and I can't wait to see you again when I get there. So, Nikki Bougie, I love you, and I will speak your name forever and always. This is the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. I love you, my salt shaker.
Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late, cause I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Hardy is on the air. Had to drop a couple bars just to make you all aware. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You know I go by Joe or the rest of the flow, yeah.
Hold on. Hey y'all, welcome to a new episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl Stephanie Hardy. I'm going through some tech issues and I'm trying to figure out currently at the moment. So if my screen disappears or if I get smaller or bigger randomly, then that's what's going on. I'm so happy to be before you guys on this Easter Saturday to talk about everything that's happening in the world of professional wrestling. There's been so much that has even coalesced within the last 24 hours that I want to talk about. So I wanted to just come on here and add my 2 cents. Sadly, my co-host Bianca Addison couldn't be on the episode, so we'll send her best wishes and awesomeness. And she will be back on the next episode, I promise. But I just wanted to come on and talk about some things. So of course, if you're watching me live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any of the other things, thank you so much. And of course, share, repost, and copy links of things as I'm live, or of course, as you see clips going around of me talking about certain things, and continue to support the vibe. And I'm just really happy with the space that I'm in right now. The space that wrestling is in, however, is just very interesting to say the least. But I just still wanted to come on here on this episode and say what I have to say and not apologize for it and stand on business, because that's just what the Hardy Wrestling Podcast is about. So, I do want to get into some news and gossip ish, but it's only one story that I felt like was was capturing my attention all throughout the week on social media, as it tends to do when certain people decide to say things and then people also decide to run with it and just be all like, oh my God, can you believe this person said this? So we're going to move into news and gossip ish. And now we're going to talk about this discourse that I saw throughout the week involving Dave Meltzer, his feelings about current NXT talent Kendall Gray, and comparing her to Mercedes Moné. Now, of course, if you know me and if you've been watching the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, you know that Mercedes Moné is my GOAT. She is the greatest women's wrestler of all time, in my opinion, and I will fight anybody on it. And to me, she is the best of the four horse women. And it's so interesting that this conversation is coming up the week of the 10th anniversary of her match that she had at WrestleMania with Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair for the inaugural WWE Women's Championship, which we did know later on as the Raw Women's Championship. And they had that match, and it was so spectacular, and it ushered in a new era where the women of WWE we're going to be on an equal playing field with the men in terms of being called superstars and fighting for a title that was equal towards the men in terms of looks and also in terms of prestige and all of the above. But this week, I saw that Dave Meltzer, who is the host and creator of the Wrestling Observer newsletter and radio, talk about how Kendall Gray is essentially almost on the same level as Mercedes Moné in terms of her growth as a wrestler, and also basically saying that he feels like she could very well surpass Mercedes in terms of success and all of the above. And this caused a lot of chaos online, even having the former gear maker of Mercedes Moné and ex-husband Makazi even chiming in as well, stating feeling as if that you can't really compare the both of their journeys, considering Kendall Gray had been training in the WWE Performance Center system her entire wrestling career as it stands now, whereas Mercedes was wrestling in the indies after she had gotten her training and then made it to the PC and NXT, and then of course kept training outside of that and then becoming the person that we know her to be today. um Something that I wanted to address on here, and I did address it before in my last episode where I talked about him, Dave Meltzer, talking about Trick Williams and him thinking that he doesn't have anything to offer. It's just the fact that I really feel like we've got to get to a point to where we render certain people in wrestling media and in wrestling journalism as dinosaurs who just don't know what they're talking about. And Dave Meltzer, um, is one of those older men who have a tendency to use sort of outdated forms of thinking and mindsets in order to compare what the current state of wrestling is, and that just does not fit. And I will never get on here and disparage anybody, and I feel like that's a lot of what was happening online too, is that there was always, it was like he started the comparison and other people online started taking it further and comparing everyone and comparing these two women against each other. And I feel like we do, as a wrestling fandom, have to get to a point where we have to stop comparing women to each other and just letting them rock in their own unique way. And Kendall Gray is still relatively young. She was wrestling and grappling with boys on her wrestling team when she was in high school and in college, as far as I know, as I've done my research. And then she got signed once she had her tryout and everything. This woman is talented and she's taken to wrestling like water, kind of like a duck to water, kind of like Kurt Angle did back in the day, because he was a wrestler. He was like a grappling Greco-Roman type wrestler who went to the Olympics and then went to WWE as well. So she's taken to wrestling like a duck to water and going really fast. Her trajectory is really fast. And that's impressive and really amazing for someone as young as she is, which means that her career is going to take her really far. And I can't wait to see where that takes her. But then on the other hand, you have Mercedes Moné, who has done so much, and she has essentially kicked down the doors for women like Kendall Gray to exist. And she is on a trajectory now where she is stamping her name and planting her flag as one of the greats, and that being her motivation, while also at the same time opening doors for women like the Kendall Grays, like the Kalani Jordans, and like the Jada Stones of the world, and so many others, in the Maya worlds of the world, and everyone to just sort of come in and know who they are, hold on to it, and use what's unique about themselves, and continuing to build on their craft and take it seriously. And then, of course, she's getting greatness in the midst of it, obtaining all of the championships that she won, and of course, that she's also just lost, and creating stars in the midst of it. So I think we have to reach a point where in wrestling, we have to stop comparing these women against each other, and also even stop comparing men against each other. But mostly when it comes to the women, stop comparing them to each other, because they're all impressive and unique in their own way, and they should be allowed to be impressive and unique in their own way without having older white men and white pundits comparing them, and being all like, oh, well, this person has this and they're going to be like this. And no, we've got to leave that sort of thinking behind and just let these women prosper in the way that they're going to prosper. And I just wanted to come on here and say that, because that was something that, caught my attention. And then also we have to stop undermining the success of Mercedes Moné and undermining her impact, because if it's one thing that we see a lot of, even as a Black female wrestling fan, is the fact that when it comes to Black wrestlers, there are people in larger places of power in media companies like your Bleacher Reports and so many other places like that, who try to undermine the likes of Mercedes Moné and the Naomis of the world and make it seem like their impact isn't as great as a Trish Stratus could be, or a Lita could be, and so many others. And that's no shade to any of those other women. But at the same time, we have to start putting more respect on our Black women in wrestling's names. You have the Jackies, you have the Jazzes of the world, and how they have even solidified themselves the exact same way as the other women have, but the respect is not given, and that's not fair. So when it comes to Mercedes Moné, there needs to be more respect put on her name. There needs to be more of an icon status that she is given, and she needs to be respected as the greatest of all time. Because in all of the lists that have even been made, you can't make them without Mercedes, throughout every company that she has worked for. And like I said, she has created so many other female stars who might not have gotten the same amount of attention if it wasn't for her wrestling them, or them beating her, or all of the above. So we need to start putting more respect on Mercedes Moné's name, and not just poo-pooing her off to the side for the Beckys or for the Charlottes or all these other people. I mean, yes, they are successful, but these Black women are just as successful, if not more. Because when you are a Black person in any type of field, you have to do twice as much to give it half the recognition. And it's about time in 2026 we stop doing the half of the recognition and give them all of the flowers that these women are due. And Mercedes is due for all of her flowers. So, yeah, that was just a lot that I had to say about what I saw going on online involving the discourse with Mercedes and Kendall Gray. But we'll talk more about Kendall Gray a little bit later, um, as I get into my predictions for Stand and Deliver. And so as we move forward into this special segment where I give my stand and deliver predictions. I just want to talk about how special stand and deliver is to me. Um, as an NXT pay-per-view that really isn't a takeover anymore, but also at the same time it's still very special because I've been to two of them, and attending two of these events have just been like a huge honor and a blessing for me. I got to go to the one in Los Angeles where Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker main evented for the NXT championship at the crypto.com arena slash Staples Arena in LA, and that was awesome. And then I got to go to the one in Philadelphia where Carmelo and Trick Williams main evented and became the first black male main event to ever take place during a WrestleMania weekend. So Stand and Deliver has a very special place in my heart. And it was kind of different when they did announce that Stand and Deliver wasn't going to be taking place during WrestleMania weekend. That kind of made me a little sad because nostalgic wise, I'm just like, you're used to getting up on WrestleMania Saturday and seeing the young guard sort of stake their claim, and then you're seeing the bigger show on that Saturday. But when it comes to NXT as its own brand, I'm actually kind of glad it has its own identity in a way that it can pull away a bit from WrestleMania and just be its own thing outside of that. Um, and it's so funny because I was just thinking about last year and how I was in Las Vegas and how I was walking around after SmackDown before that WrestleMania. And then I was walking around the strip and I saw Javon Evans, who was set to main event that Stand and Deliver the next day. And he was walking around with supervision because he couldn't be, on the strip doing the adult things. So it's just interesting how things just sort of evolve, even within a year's time. And now he's going to be on the WrestleMania card this year. It's just a blessing to see how things evolve that way. But me and Bianca will more than likely have a WrestleMania episode later down the pike as we get closer. But of course, I'm here to give my stand and deliver predictions because it's taking place tonight in St. Louis at the Factory. And I'm really pumped about it because St. Louis has a lot of great wrestling history. In the Chase Ballroom, that's also where NWA's Empower took place, and that has a special place in my heart as well. So it's going to be really cool, and I'm really excited about it. So let's get into these predictions. Now, of course, Sexy Red is going to be there, and she has come out and expressed her fandom in wrestling, and definitely as an NXT fan. So I can't wait to see what she's going to offer, in terms of being there in her hometown. She was at SmackDown, and they showed her during the commercial break. I think I missed that, but yep, Sexy Red is going to be in the house, and that's going to be cool. And hopefully, maybe she'll get more involved in things like she did, or maybe she'll just, perform or something. But either way, I'm pretty okay with seeing Sexy Red there. And here again, this is me pushing for more female celebrities in the ring because I need to see it. I need more of it. We saw Little Yachty last night. We've seen Jelly Roll do the things. I need more women celebrities in the ring. Please make it happen. I don't care what you got to do. Make it happen. So, in the countdown to Stand and Deliver, which you could call the pre-show, but they call it the countdown, we have a 10-person tag team match with Team Hank and Tank, EK Prosper, who's formerly known as Eli Knight from the Speed division, Shallow Hill, and women's speed champion Ren Sinclair going up against Birthright. I feel like Birthright is a really fascinating faction in terms of NXT and where they were going with it. I know at one point they thought for sure that maybe Uriah Connors' brother would come, but as it turns out he made his AEW debut, so that didn't happen. But either way, I'm really interested in seeing where Birthright goes, because to me they remind me a lot of the Legacy faction that we had with Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Ted DiBiase Jr. back in the day, except they're a lot larger in numbers. And what's so funny is that you have Stacks there because his as far as I know, he doesn't have any family in wrestling, but of course, by marriage, he will be attached to Santino Marella with Ariana Grace, the Knockouts champion, there as well, with Charlie Dempsey and Lexis King. So I'm interested to see where this could possibly go with them as a faction. But I'm gonna predict that Team Hank and Tank will win simply because I enjoy them most. I enjoy them kind of like as an island of misfits toys kind of thing, and I just want them to be stronger as a unit and win. And I'm glad to see them be a part of, NXT Stand and Deliver in this way. Um, but I am interested to see how Birthright will try and get the upper hand. They might be underhanded, they might cheat, but at the same time, can you really cheat in a 10-person tag team match? I'm not sure. But I am predicting that Team Hank and Tank will get the upper hand and win. So that's my prediction for that countdown match to Stand and Deliver. So now we're going to move over to the main card. Ow. And of course, we're going to talk about the women. This is the match that I'm the most excited about when it comes to the women outside of the championship match for the women. I am so pumped for Sol Ruka versus Zarya because these two women gave not this week, but last week, they gave a promo that definitely gave me the vibes of Naomi and Bianca Belair. And when Naomi revealed that she was the one that attacked Jade, like their promo gave me all of those feelings when you heard the frustration of what Zarya was feeling while she was friends, with Sol Ruka and tagging with her. Now, of course, while we were enjoying and having fun, and they were enjoying and having fun with each other in their friendship that Sol Ruka did pursue, and all of the above, Zarya was holding a lot of emotion back, in terms of watching Sol Ruka rise in her stardom and rise and win all these championships or whatnot. Even at last year's Stand and Deliver, when Sol wound up winning the Women's North American Championship in that ladder match. And they wound up having to fight each other, and Sol knocked her off of the ladder. And it's kind of complicated when you have two friends or even two people I can imagine, in a relationship, and you're both trying to reach for the same goals, and you're watching one person that you love get all of these opportunities and get all of these things, but also at the same time you want these things for yourself too, and you can't deny that. And it seems like all of it just came down to a boiling point with Zarya, and she just couldn't take it anymore. But on the other hand, I feel for Sol Ruka because, as driven, as much as I understand being friends with somebody in the same um industry issue, I think the thing that I identify most with Sol Ruka is wanting to succeed no matter what. And Sol Ruka cannot help that she took all of these opportunities and ran with it. Like, what was she supposed to do? Just keep giving up opportunities over and over again for Zarya, or give up these opportunities just to feed into Zarya's insecurities? Absolutely not. Because I am honestly of the notion, in my own life, I feel like as much hard work as I'm putting in, you need to put that hard work in too. Like, nobody in life is going to hand you anything. You've got to work for it. You have to strive for it. Like, you have to sharpen your tools so you can be ready when the opportunity, presents itself. And if you're not doing that, then that's not my fault, because I'm sitting here doing all these things and working and doing my best, but yet, and all these opportunities are coming, and you're expecting me to just turn them down. You're expecting me to turn down the Royal Rumble. You're expecting me to turn down performing at Saturday night's main event, which had the caveat of being the Saturday night's main event that had John Cena's final match on it. It's like you're expecting me to turn down all these opportunities just to make you feel better. No, that's not how life works. And honestly, I am actually on Team Sol Ruka for this. So I'm predicting that Sol Ruka might win this match because she has a lot to prove here. Number one, she doesn't have a lot to prove because she has won a lot, but at the same time, I feel like she needs to win simply because she needs to prove to Zarya, like, look, man, I'm the top girl and you just got to deal with it. And you'd have to sit in the fact that a lot of the opportunities that have come your way, you have lost because you weren't focused, or you have lost because, of other outside interferences, but it wasn't because of me. So yeah, I'm predicting that Sol Ruka is going to win. But I also wouldn't be mad if Zarya won either, but I am definitely on Team Soul when it comes to this. And I know that might make me sound like the bad guy because a majority of the people on the internet are on Zarya's side, but I am on Sol Ruka's side because I'm not going to sit here and be sorry for opportunities that I get just because you ain't getting them. Like, I'm sorry, that's not gonna happen, and I feel like that might make me sound like a bit of a butthole, but I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'm on Team Sol Ruka for this. I'm predicting that Sol Ruka will win this match. Now, in moving into more championship territory for the women, we have Tatum Paxley going up against Blake Monroe for the NXT Women's North American Championship. Um, Blake Monroe has been sort of crashing out ever since she lost the title, even going as far as to saying that she actually never lost it. But no, ma'am, you actually did lose it because the referee counted 1, 2, 3, even though it was kind of controversial at the time for you to have lost to Thea Hill. No, you actually did lose. So, I'm predicting that Tatum Paxley is going to win because here again, she's someone who has a lot to prove and she just won the title. And it kind of wouldn't make sense for me if she lost at Stand and Deliver after just winning and also just defending it successfully against Izzy Dame. I want her to have this big opportunity in NXT's largest PLE and win. And I want her to get her title back. And I want to see what happens when Blake Monroe crashes out even more. Like, that's what I want to see. So, I want to see Blake Monroe crash out. And I want to see Tatum Paxley retain her North American Championship. So yeah, that's my prediction. I'm predicting that Tatum Paxley will retain that title. And Blake Monroe is going to crash out more and more as the glamour and the drama. And finally, when it comes to the women, we have a triple threat match for the NXT Women's Championship involving Jacy Jayne defending her Women's Championship against Kendall Gray, who we did talk about before, and Lola Vice, who is also one half of the AAA mixed tag team champions with Mr. Iguana. I want Lola Vice to win this match. I want Lola Vice to win this match more than anything in this on this world, because Lola has been grinding it out for a while in NXT, and she has had multiple opportunities as the women's breakout tournament winner against Kalani Jordan. Like, she has fought so hard and she works back and forth between NXT and AAA, and she has definitely proven herself as a standard bearer in the women's in NXT women's division, that it makes no sense that she hasn't won singles gold outside of AAA at this point. She's even undefeated in the underground now. So I feel like it's Lola Vice's time. I want Lola Vice to win so bad. And then, of course, this is another opportunity to make up for that one championship match she had against Jacy Jayne, where my my other Bama Barbie, oh my God, why am I blanking on her name? I see it. I see it as clear as day. I see her face, and I'm so sorry. In terms of Fatal Influence, it wasn't Fallon Henley, but I'm blanking on her name right now, and I feel bad about it. Like, she joined Fatal Influence and then stabbed them in the back, and then, well, not stabbed Lola Vice in the back, but she essentially got in the way of her winning that title in front of her family, and I want her to get her lick back for that. Now, Kendall Gray, it would be amazing if she won the NXT Women's Championship, given her trajectory so far of having to give up the Evolve Women's title and relinquish that. But here's the thing. Lola has been there since NXT 2.0, and I want to see her win a championship. So I'm predicting that Lola Vice is going to win it all, and she'll be a double champion, and it'll be a cool visual for her, and I just want that to happen for Lola Vice really bad. Jacy Jayne has been an amazing champion, even though, she's a heel and she's a bad guy. She's been a great champion 2 times in a row, and she's proven that she wasn't just the third wheel in Toxic Attraction. she has stood on her own, even with her own faction. And I feel like, you know, her time is up and Lola Vice's time is now. And Kendall Gray has all the time in the world at this point to win the title. So I feel like it's not a matter of if, but when for her. But I just don't think this is it for her. And I feel like it's Lola Vice's time. It has to be Lola. It has to be Lola. It just has to. So Lola Vice is my prediction to win the NXT Women's Championship at Stand and Deliver. So, yeah. And now we move into the men in these title matches. And of course, now we're going to talk about the NXT Tag Team Championship match between the Vanity Project, with Jackson Drake, of course, being in their corner, going up against Rayo and Bravo, Los Americanos. I kind of want the Vanity Project to retain the title simply because I'm kind of just tired of the Los Americanos gimmick as a whole. I've come out and said multiple times that I really am just sort of not a fan of the Americano gimmick simply because I feel like even though I am a person on the outside looking in of lucha culture, in terms of wrestling as a black person, um, to me it rubbed me the wrong way to see these white wrestlers cosplaying as lucha wrestlers. It's just a bit much for me. So because I'm standing on business and not really being much of a fan of the Americanos gimmick, I'm actually predicting that the Vanity Project will retain their tag titles, and I wouldn't be angry about it if they did. So, yeah, Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes, they're gonna have a time trying to defend the championships, but I still feel that the Vanity Project will retain, and that's just all I have to say about that. So, yeah. Now, this is a match that intrigues me a little bit more, I should say, than the NXT Championship match itself. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's the truth. Johnny Gargano versus Miles Bourne for the NXT North American Championship intrigues me on a deeper level that I can't even explain. Well, that I can explain because Johnny Gargano has been in a slump ever since Tommaso Ciampa left and signed over in AEW, and he's been laying around backstage sad, just wondering what his purpose in life and purpose in wrestling is going to be. And Candice LeRae, being the supportive wife that she is, pulls him over and says, look, like, he needs to come to NXT and figure everything out. So he comes up there and becomes the number one contender to face off against Miles Bourne. And then if you watch NXT this week, they had a heck of a promo where you get a history lesson of more of what Johnny Gargano gave to the NXT brand. And I loved it because Johnny and the DIY mindset and Tommaso Ciampa were the lifeblood of NXT back in the day. Like, I highly recommend, if you have not done it, to go back and watch any of Johnny Gargano's matches that he had against anybody in NXT back in the day, because the black and gold era, woo, that was so cool. And I can't even believe it's been nearly 10 years since that era has even happened. But oh my God, Johnny Gargano was like a him wrestling anybody was like appointment wrestling television back in the day. So to see him come back now and want to face off against Miles Bourne, who's rising as his own, NXT star at this point, it's just really cool for me. And then, and Johnny, a nickname that he used to have was Johnny Takeover. And he used to really make that his thing. Like, he used to perform so well against the likes of Adam Cole, against Andrade, against everybody else, for in these matches for the NXT takeovers. And of course, they're not called takeovers anymore. They're just these events like Stand and Deliver or, Roadblock and all these things because of the eras and how we evolve and things. But no, like, Johnny Gargano is a pillar. So as much as it pains me to say this, because I love Miles Bourne all the way down, I kind of want to see Johnny Gargano win the title, because I just don't want to see him sad anymore, number one. And number two, I just want to see him be on top again. I want to see him win this title that he helped to create and put prestige behind and everything. I just love I this just made me feel so happy as a fan of NXT in the black and gold era. So I can't wait to see what happens here. I want to see Johnny Gargano win. So I'm predicting that Johnny Gargano will more than likely win the North American Championship. But if he doesn't win, I won't be mad either. But still, Johnny, give me that old feeling back. I loved it. It was great. So, that just gave me all the feelings. Oh my God. Why? What is happening at the time? And finally, we have the NXT Championship match in a fatal four-way on April 4th. Haha, gotta love the number 4. Um, Joe Hendry, my fave, is going up against Ricky Saints, my Gambit, All Ego Ethan Page, and Tony D'Angelo for the NXT Championship. This was interesting for me because just last year, here again, Mania time, Joe Hendry was in TNA and he was doing his appearances, at um WrestleCon and all the things, all for him to pop up at WrestleMania and fight Randy Orton and becoming the first ever TNA champion to fight on a WrestleMania card and everything. I was there. It made me happy. I screamed my face off. It was great. So now we see him as the NXT champion. And at Stand and Deliver, he has to defend his title against 3 hungry hippos. No pun intended for this title. And as much as I want Joe Hendry to keep it, I wouldn't mind if Tony D'Angelo won it, because in their contract signing, Tony D'Angelo seemed the most grizzled and he seemed the most hungry for this opportunity, simply because he has been in NXT since the 2.0 era, and he hasn't really and he has won the North American title, yes, and he won the Heritage Cup, yes, but he has never won the top one, the top title. And he seems very determined to prove himself after everything that he had gone through with the separation of his family and all of the above. So I'm low-key predicting that Tony D'Angelo might win the title off of Joe. But I wouldn't be angry if Joe retained it, because he's my fave and I love him so much. But then another prediction that I have is that we're going to see the dissolve of the friendship between Ricky Saints and Ethan Page, because these two were never truly meant to be friends to begin with. They've been beefing since they got to NXT, and now because Ricky turned heel and everything, Ethan's like, oh, now you see it from my perspective, blah blah blah. And now here again, because you got two friends going for the same thing, it's not gonna last long. Their friendship isn't gonna last long. And I think their friendship falling apart might wind up costing them in the end when it comes to this opportunity here tonight. So my top 2 predictions is, number 1, Tony D'Angelo will win the NXT championship, and number 2, that Joe Hendry might retain. And that's just how I feel about the situation. So yeah, I think this is going to turn out to be an amazing Stand and Deliver. I can't wait to watch it tonight. Vaughn in the comments is saying that RKO on Hendry was hilarious. It was hilarious, but it broke my heart because I wanted Joe to win in such a huge manner. And it was just so crazy how a lot of people online were like, why does Randy Orton not have a match in WrestleMania and blah, 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 all for him to fight Joe Hendry and everything. I wanted Joe Hendry to win so bad. But that RKO was hilarious because he turned around and did the thing like, hey, and then yee. It was crazy. But but it was just it's a happy moment that I will cherish for the rest of my life. Mania in Vegas last year was amazing, and hopefully when I have my WrestleMania episode, I will talk more about that experience. But yeah, Stand and Deliver is happening tonight, and those are all of my predictions for that. I love NXT so much, and I can't wait to see what they're going to give us tonight. And the fact that it's separate from WrestleMania this time is going to be a little bit different, but it's still going to be cool nonetheless. So let's move into what I liked in wrestling this week. And it was a lot that I liked, and then it was a lot that I didn't like at the same time. But we're going to get into it all. And I know this might give the viewers a little bit of whiplash if you're watching this right now or if you watch this later on YouTube, because I'm going in reverse order. But I have to talk about what happened on SmackDown last night. And oh my God. Michin versus Rhea Ripley was a really good match last night, because y'all know I got to start with my girls. They did a phenomenal job last night, and Michin here again proved why she is more than just a good hand. And in my opinion, she should be one of, if not the very next person who should challenge for the Women's United States Championship. Um, she hit a poison Rana onto Rhea Ripley that looked so crazy and so amazing that I just could not believe it. And she performed incredibly well, but I just don't want her to get pigeonholed as a person who they can just depend on for great performances, but not give her anything else to work with. Like, it doesn't make any sense that, number one, she has not held any gold since she's been back in WWE, and number two, that she just has not had a more prominent feature somehow. And it just doesn't make sense, because she's just so very talented. She is a star, and I really feel like she should be given more opportunities to express that and to show that. Um, and I didn't get to mention more of how I felt about her joining up with Jade Cargill. But at the same time, this match proved right here why she deserves more of an opportunity with that. But then something else that I loved, well, I guess this is me putting this here because I didn't get a chance to talk more about how I felt about B-Fab and Michin joining up with Jade. It caught me off guard, number one, but I enjoyed it because I'm just like, hello, three black women together, let's do it. Um, and then also, it was just so interesting that just when Jade was good and after she got attacked by Naomi, they were on her side. But then eventually, when Jade's attitude changed, she was beating up on them. And then now they realize, okay, well, this is beneficial. Let me actually join up with her. And now, they're baddies ganging up on Rhea Ripley. And I actually like that dynamic a lot. Um, but the thing that I hated was when they were trying to express their reasons as to why they did it last week, but yet everybody was bullying them so much you could barely hear what they were saying. And then you had the added caveat of Rhea Ripley talking over them as well, and it was just like, okay, this is not working for me. So hopefully, as the weeks go on leading to WrestleMania, we'll see more of their motivations being put out there, not just online but also on television. And I want to see more of Michin standing on her own and being and having a more prominent space in the women's division, because she deserves it and she's just very talented. So, and I also love how these women were matching with the yellow and stuff. It was really cool. And then, of course, as the baddies were ganging up on Rhea Ripley again, you had Io Sky coming out there being the very best friend that Rhea Ripley could have and evening up the odds. And I love it because I'll never get tired of seeing those two together, because clearly she gives Rhea Ripley a level of happiness that just radiates from her every time they're on screen together. And watching them sort of separate made me a little sad. So seeing them back together on my screen was just like, oh my God, yay! So it just made me happy. But I do wonder what this means for the trajectory of Io Sky when it comes to WrestleMania, because Rhea now, of course, has her championship match against Jade, but it was just last year at Mania in Vegas where Io Sky was the women's world champion. She won it off of Rhea, and then her and Bianca Belair had that spectacular match last year. And now we're seeing Rhea being positioned as the top girl, but then you have Io sort of in a mystery cloud of sorts. And that's a little bit weird for me because she's been performing so well singles wise and tag team wise all year long, to the point to where it's just kind of like, why doesn't she have a prominent space, in WrestleMania this year? It's a little bit interesting for me. And then you saw her, and I'll get to Raw in a minute, but then it's just like you saw everything that she had going on with Asuka and Kairi Sane, and it's just kind of like, well, what's gonna happen? Like, what's gonna happen? Why is Io not in a prominent position in Mania and Rhea is? Now, mind you, I'm not mad that Rhea is, because she's a star, and I know that. But at the same time, Io, was a part of that amazing triple threat last year. Why is she just floundering? Why is that happening? But last night I was very happy to see them on my screen together again, because I just never get tired of seeing female friendships. And speaking of female friendships, we got Charlotte and Alexa, and how I loved the match that they had with Bay Lyra. Um, that is not what I meant to do. I love the match that they had against Bay Lyra. And I wanted to put a highlight on Charlotte's gear, because it gagged me so bad. Like, what do you mean? You popped up with this sparkly corset on, made up of all of these stars and everything. Charlotte is going to have to release a clothing line for the girls, because the way that she has been slaying all year long has just been absolutely nuts. Like, her gear has just been gagging me. And then she was in a commercial with Tiffany Stratton for a video game, and I think she had on this exact same gear, except she didn't have the corset part on. But she looked so gorgeous, and I just feel like lately, over the past year, Charlotte has just been gagging me. Like, she has always been a beautiful woman, don't get me wrong, but she has just been stunning me all year long with her looks and her confidence and everything else. And it's just like, Charlotte, oh my God, am I developing a girl crush on Charlotte Flair? It's just so beautiful. I just can't get over how her style has just evolved over the past year, and just how colorful it is and how accessible it feels, and just, oh, it's just so beautiful. Like, my eyes are never starving for beauty whenever I see her, and it's just really great. But I love the match that they had with Bay Lyra. It was really cool, and I want to give Lyra and Bailey their flowers, but I definitely want to give Bailey her flowers as well, because Miss Ma'am had a whole sequence where she was beating up on, I think it was I think it was Alexa. Well, no, it wasn't Alexa, it was Charlotte. And that's what made it very spiritual for me. There was a spot during that tag team match where she stacked up Charlotte in the middle ropes and hit the double knees to her to knock her down, the way that Mercedes Moné would. And I lost it when I saw it. I was geeking out. I was like, oh my God, Bailey is doing a Mercedes Moné / Sasha Banks tribute to her right now in the ring. And then she pulled her, and then as she fell down in the corner, she ran into her with those double knees again. And I was just like, oh my God, this is a Mercedes tribute, and it is gagging me. And I loved it so much. And I feel like, here again, her and Mercedes are two of the greatest female wrestlers of all time in terms of the four horsewomen. And they'll always be paying tribute to each other, because they will always love each other. And it just gagged me so hard. I was nerding out so bad when I was watching it last night. And as happy as I am that Bailey and Lyra have their tag team match for the women's tag titles at WrestleMania, I can't help but feel that there is a turn that's going to happen with Bailey. And I know that there is always a lot of discourse when it comes to tag teams, especially with the women saying, oh, which one's going to turn on each other first, and all of the above. But we did see a bit of aggression that emanated from Bailey a bit. When she was being a little bit unhinged, but then Lyra sort of stuck with her through it all. And now we're seeing, a very passionate part of Bailey, show up in the tag team with them as Bay Lyra. But a part of me is also wondering, with the hair dye, is that alluding to the fact that she might be changing again and might, be more aggressive and turn heel at some point? Because at one point her hair was all purple and now it's like half purple, half black. And sometimes the gear and the hair tells you the story before the story decides to manifest itself on screen. And it makes me wonder if them possibly losing at Mania, that is, if they lose at Mania, will, show the cracks, or if it won't. I don't know. But either way, I was happy to see them fight on SmackDown, even though they wound up getting attacked by the women's tag champions, the Irresistible Forces, who look amazing together, Nia and Lash. I um I can't wait to see what happens in this tag division with all of these women. And of course, I nerded out the whole time because you have Bayley and Charlotte, who are like who are two of the four horsewomen, and I just never get tired of seeing them on my screen. I never do. So it was cool, but I feel like there might be a shift happening with Bayley kind of soon. Now, when it comes to the men, my God, on today, I think I need to slow down when I talk about this segment here involving Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Pat to the McAfee. Now, this confused me last night. And I have to be one of those people that talks about it and say that I did not like this at all. But I also have to say that when Randy revealed that he was talking to Pat McAfee on the phone, I was honestly relieved that it wasn't the one person that everybody kept saying it was. A lot of people thought it was Stephanie McMahon's dad, and I'm so glad that it wasn't. For the sake of people involved, for the sake of people who have gone through terrible power dynamics where they've been abused emotionally and sexually in so many different ways. And I'm so sorry I'm even bringing that up. But a lot of people in the internet wrestling community were predicting and feeling like it was going to be Vince. I honestly, throughout this whole time, thought it was going to be Randy Orton's own father. Because if it's one thing that he kept saying over and over again was that, well, wrestling has more than one royal family, right? Randy Orton comes from a wrestling royal family. I thought he was talking to his dad all this time, Cowboy Bob. But last night in Randy's hometown of St. Louis, it was revealed that he was talking to Pat McAfee this whole time. And Pat decided that he was going to go scorched earth on the modern wrestling landscape and talk about how Cody Rhodes was a representative of that, and talking about how weak he thinks wrestling has gotten since Cody has been at the forefront of it, and how he feels like WWE of the current age has left behind people who were fans of the Attitude Era and the ruthless aggression and all of that and all of that. And my thing is, I feel like if it was going to be a battle of the generations, there was a way to do it that could have been a lot better and a lot more cohesive. Mind you, I've never written for a TV show, but I have written stuff before. You can read it on Daily DDT or wherever else. I feel like creatively there could have been a way that could have been conveyed a lot better than having Pat McAfee go scorched earth all of a sudden when we haven't seen him in God knows how long in wrestling. And we've seen him interview wrestlers on his show, but we have not seen him in the programming in a long time. So for him to just pop back up and be like, oh yeah, he was talking to me, and I and it and there are people like Randy Orton who should make it go this way and not this way, and making it a battle of the generations. It was just really random and it caught me off guard. But then on top of that, you're saying all this stuff about the battle of the generations and how it should be this way and not this way. But Randy Orton was only there for the ruthless aggression era and the more modern eras. He wasn't there for the Attitude Era. So why would he have that sentiment? It was really weird. But then it was also like a weird deja vu because seeing them show up in those RKO Everybody t-shirts, for some weird reason, it made my brain sort of flash back and forth with a deja vu back to the NWO, which Cody would go on to mention later. But it was just really, it was very jarring. I will say that. It was very jarring to see Pat be all like, yeah, he was talking to me and I don't like the direction of wrestling's going. But here's the thing, when Cody decided to talk about, you know, and give his 2 cents after getting beat up and everything, it was, this was just very jarring for me. But I'm so glad it wasn't Stephanie McMahon's father. That's all I have to say about that. I, yeah, yeah, it, woo, it just caught me off guard. And I know everybody lost their minds and talked about, you know, how terrible they felt like that was and everything. But then Cody had a lot to say after it too. But we'll get to that in a minute. But when it came to the rest of SmackDown, I loved seeing Tama Tonga stand on his own and say, look, and stand up, you know, to Solo Sikoa and talk about, look, this lantern has been driving you crazy and it's not, and it's been taking the focus off of what's really important, which is us dominating SmackDown. You need to stop. But Solo pretended like he was okay with it once the lantern was returned to Uncle Howdy after that match ended. But he gave him probably the biggest side eye I have ever seen after that point. And it was just really weird. So I'm pretty sure these two might get to fighting. If they don't fight at WrestleMania, then I see them definitely fighting on the Friday before, on the SmackDown before WrestleMania. So it's going to be interesting. Also, looking at this picture as a woman, Tama Tonga was looking real hot. He looked real sexy last night, and I know I gotta chill, but I the muscles were sitting just right, and I was just like, oh, Tama, 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 help, Tama, help. Oh my god, help me. But you know, he is so fine. And also I have to admit, while I'm going down this rabbit hole, Tala Tonga is quite fine too. He's just really tall. But you know, it just, the gorgeousness of Polynesian men, it just never gets old to me. Help. But yeah, I loved seeing Tama Tonga stand up in his own mind, in his own opinion, and speak out on that and talk about, you know, how they need to get back focused on the, and put them and make the main thing the main thing. And I like seeing that from Tama Tonga. Now, of course, they'll probably get to fighting because of it, but I'm excited either way. So yeah, we're about to see a new side of him this year, and I'm really excited. And speaking of, we need, I need, all of us need, as a whole, to understand that Carmelo Hayes is him and he deserves to be on the WrestleMania card this year. Um, I'm going to make this make sense in a minute. When it comes to the last 3 years of me being in these circles for WrestleMania and going to the things and being in the city for these things, something that I take an immense amount of pride in is being a fan of Carmelo Hayes from his NXT days. Um, and being present for him winning the NXT title at Stand and Deliver in Los Angeles, um, being present and watching him main event Stand and Deliver with Trick Williams, and being part of the first black male main event during WrestleMania weekend, and also being present last year when he won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I am so honored and privileged to have been there for that as a supporter of Carmelo Hayes and his rise in the ranks of WWE, because he's talented and he is just that guy. And we need to stop playing on his top. And I'm going to need for people in charge in WWE to stop playing on his top right now. It makes no sense for somebody who was struggling to a degree. I don't want to say struggling because he was making the most of the opportunities as they were presented to him, but it if it makes no sense for somebody like him who has worked so hard to win the United States title the way that he did the day after Christmas. And then have these open challenges, put the company on his back the way that he did, and make these appearances with these titles and everything, and work his hardest and do his damnness to even try to qualify to even face John Cena in his last match and all of these things. It makes no sense for somebody like him to not be on the Mania card as it is. And I don't know if they're planning on putting him on the Mania card later, and this is just all like in the plan or in the works or whatever. But I'm going to need for them to stop playing with our emotions right now when it comes to Carmelo Hayes. Because last night, when he was cutting his promo against Sami Zayn, everybody in St. Louis was cheering, "We want Melo," and they were on his side and booing Sami Zayn like he was just the second coming of Satan. And it was crazy, but I loved it because we want to see Carmelo succeed. We've seen him rise against the odds and prove that he can be that guy. So what is it? Why isn't he on the card? Why isn't this a triple threat match already? Why is Trick Williams now? And this is no shade because I love Trick Williams. But why is it that we have to live in a world where Carmelo is regressing and not being on the Mania card, but then you have Trick who just got there, and he can be on the Mania card because of his star power and everything that he's done and stuff, but Carmelo can't? That just doesn't make any sense. So this needs to be a triple threat, and I don't care what anybody has to say about it. Sammy, of course, took advantage of Carmelo tweaking his leg somehow, which is another part of the story that they're telling, which I am catching, and I'm picking up what they're putting down here. But at the same time, they're showing Sammy be like a desperate champion and being desperate to maintain his spot on top or whatever. But at the same time, if Carmelo is not on this Mania card, I will probably blow a gasket and I will lose it and I will be very upset. And more than likely, I might have to take a break because Carmelo Travante Hayes deserves to be on the WrestleMania card. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. His t-shirt says him and it doesn't say him just because it's recreational. He's him because it is a fact. He's him because it's a fact. He's been him. He was him in NXT. He was him when he was Christian Casanova, and I didn't even see him be Christian Casanova back in the day, but I know he was, and he's him right now. And for him to not have a place just doesn't make any good walking around sense. It doesn't make running around sense. He needs to be on the card. And if he's not on the card, then I will raise $1,000 worth of hell. And that's just the truth. And I'm already raising $100 worth of hell right here. But I will raise 1,000 if he's not on this Mania card. Y'all got 2 weeks to fix it. And I'm standing on it. Y'all got 2 weeks to fix it. And I know Sami Zayn at this point is sort of being like, he's teetering between, face and heel at this point. He's first at the window and then at the door. He's acting like, oh, well, I see how talented you are, but no. My thing is, if you're going to be evil, stand on the evil. Because clearly you're doing all this underhanded stuff in order to hold Carmelo back from having that title again, just because you want to be desperate and be all like, but I deserve to be on Mania because I got screwed and da. Baby, no. I also have another opinion about the reason why Sami Zayn is in the place he's in now. I feel like they keep putting Sammy in the mid card because they don't want to go ahead and pull the trigger on him being in the main championship picture. That's what I really feel like this is boiling down to. He keeps saying he wants to be in the main title picture with the Undisputed Championship, with the Randy Ortons and the Cody Rhodeses and the Drew McIntyres of it all and everything else, which he deserves to be in, but they keep not doing it. And because they keep not doing it, they keep giving him sort of like the US title or the IC title as a participation trophy. And in the midst of them giving him a title like this, they keep holding back other people like Carmelo who could run with that and actually stand on top of it as a newer star. And it has to stop.
It really has to stop. And it really has to stop. And I understand that Sammy isn't a mean person by any means. Like from what I've seen and heard about him, he's a nice person overall. But I feel like where they're going with his character, you know, it's irritating to a degree. And I'm going to need for Sammy to just sit down for a second and just let these young boys play. I'm really going to need for that to happen. So put Mello in Mania. If it's not Carmelo Mania, then there's no point for me. And that's just how I feel. And if he gets put in it, I'll be sad because every time he does something cool somewhere, it's like I've been there most of the time, but I won't be there this time. But it's okay. Either way, he'll have my full support and my love. I know. Put him in WrestleMania. Are we gonna have a problem? Also, I'm enjoying Danhausen. I am enjoying Danhausen being in WWE. I thought he was always really kooky and stuff in AEW, and I'm a fan of the kooky and the silly in wrestling, and I always have been. So to see him in here in WWE and get his kookiness on, it's just really fun. Him in the same ring as R-Truth could have been a very funny moment, but him going up against the Miz and trying to get in his circle when the Miz keeps denying him, it's just really, really hilarious. And then Kit Wilson, you know, being next to him is just also really cool too. It's like the Miz is up here being the most must-see icon at this point, up against two of the most viral sensations in wrestling right now, and it's just, I'm enjoying it. It's making me laugh, and if it's one thing we need more in life and in wrestling period, it's laughter. And Danhausen, yeah, keep cursing. Keep cursing us all. And then I just think it's funny because R-Truth thought that was Oscar. That part had me in stitches last night. I could not stop laughing. It was hilarious. But in talking about back to the Pat McAfee, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes situation. Cody Rhodes here again went scorched earth because he's angry that nobody thinks that he can beat Randy Orton because he's too much of a good guy. And he talked about how, you know, I do have these kids and I'm not the same guy that I once was with the black hair and all the stuff. But dang it, if y'all gonna keep pushing me, then I'm gonna go there. And y'all need to understand Cody Rhodes. Y'all keep acting like Cody Rhodes isn't the same guy who wrestled an entire Hell in a Cell match against Seth Rollins with a torn pec. Y'all keep playing with him like he's not a dog, okay? He is probably the dog. He's from Georgia, okay? He's a bulldog. So it's just like y'all be acting like just because he's nice and sweet and because he's, you know, a white meat baby face that he can't get booked. And I'm telling you right now, I want Cody Rhodes to get so buck at WrestleMania that we barely even recognize Randy Orton because he put him through a meat grinder. That's what I want to see at WrestleMania. I want to see Cody Rhodes get buck and I want to see him retain the title. This is me outright saying on this show right here, and I know this is the unpopular thing to say because everybody wants Randy Orton to get his 15th world title, and that would be cool and everything. But I want Cody to retain the championship at WrestleMania because I have been present at 2 WrestleManias where Cody Rhodes has lost, and it is not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling in any way, shape, or form. It's not. I hate when Cody Rhodes loses at WrestleMania. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And I just don't want to see him lose again, number one. And number two, I'm going to need, if Cody Rhodes is going to beat Randy Orton, I'm going to really need for him to bring out the dog. Bring out the dog, Cody. Stop letting these people play with you just because you're a nice person. Y'all always make the mistake of mistaking kindness for weakness. But then when we crash out on y'all swear we the problem. Nope, we're not the problem. We are not the problem. Cody can do it. I believe in him. Okay. I believe in him. He can do it. He can do it. And then, of course, you have Monday Night Raw. And of course, I'm going to get into more of what I love with the women, but this is sort of a gateway into what I love with the women on Monday Night Raw. Stephanie McMahon, the future Hall of Famer, decided to pop up and give Cody Rhodes some words of wisdom in terms of going up against Randy Orton. And this was very intelligent to me. It might have seemed very random at first for some people, but it made sense to me because yo, if it's anybody who's been on the receiving end of Crash Out '09 Randy Orton shenanigans, it was definitely her. And even Cody said himself, a lot of the stuff that he did, we can't even show on the programming. We can't even show it on TV. But Stephanie was like, look, you're not like your father. You know, you can't get it done the way he used to get it done. You know, you don't have that dog in you. But then Cody bit back and said, look, I appreciate what you're trying to say, and with all due respect, you're not like your father either. And we praise God for that. So, um, she slapped him in the face and was like, look, you really need to lock in. And he said, look, thank you for that. And that was pretty much the end. And of course, this segment led to everybody online thinking that it was some type of dark power dynamic going on between her and Randy and her dad. And it was just a lot. But either way, it was very cool and intelligent to see Stephanie come out there and just be like, look, I know what this man can do. You really need to lock in. It was very intelligent and I appreciated it. Plus, I'm never going to get tired of seeing a fellow Stephanie on my screen because we're awesome. Stephanie supremacy. So, moving on. Love you. Now, when it comes to people who are doing too much against a fellow Stephanie, it's Miss Mama's Liv Morgan. Now, over the past couple of weeks, I have talked about how I really feel like Liv Morgan is embodying the privileged white girl persona that dates a person of color and thinks that they can just do and say whatever they can because, oh, look, I'm in now and I have proximity to people of color, so I can say this stuff. And that's really what she's acting like now. Because for you to go on screen and talk about Stephanie Vaquer's mama and then proceed to talk about how she's a puta and all this other stuff, I was just like, you are just getting hella disrespectful right now. And I'm going to need for you to bag. And then you talked about how your mom raised you, you know, to be, I forgot what she said, what her mom raised her to be. But then she also said that, you know, that she was made in those streets. Mind you, Raw was in Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden, the last time I checked, is located in New York. I have friends from New York who constantly drag New Jersey every chance they get. You are from Union City, New Jersey. Why would you claim New York? Like, I'm from these streets. No, you're not. You're from New Jersey. Specifically, you are from New Jersey. How could you claim New York when you're from New Jersey? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But what can I say? I'm from Alabama. But either way, it's just kind of like, girl, you're doing entirely too much and showing too much bravado. And you're feeding into the notion that Stephanie told you when you can't, knowing that you couldn't defend yourself without your family and without your privilege. Because guess who came back to jump on Stephanie when they got to fighting? Little Miss Roxanne. Roxanne has made her return. The prodigy is here. But here's the thing. It's like you can't beat Stephanie without all of the privilege and without your family. And even though she's doing this as a bravado and as a power dynamic and as a mind game thing, she's essentially proving Stephanie Vaquer right. She is, and she just doesn't want to admit it. So I feel like I'm going to share more of my opinions about this match the closer we get to WrestleMania. But Liv Morgan got too much dip on her chip, and she really just needs to chill the F out. Also, I wanted to hold space for Stephanie Vaquer's outfit. She looked like Catwoman, and I loved it. Everything she wears is just amazing. Stephanie supremacy all day long. Also, when it came to the women's tag team title match, I love that Michael Cole on commentary mentioned the last time women's tag titles were defended in Madison Square Garden and how it was between the Jumping Bomb Angels and the Glamour Girls. I love looking back on women's wrestling history in that way. So the fact that they mentioned that just, you know, fed into more of my wrestling nerd um history type of thing. I just love that they mentioned those two tag teams there on the show when it came to the match between um the Irresistible Forces and Bailey and Lyra. It was just really cool. So I love that. And also, I have a theory when it comes to Io Sky and Kairi Sane. Io Sky had a match on Monday Night Raw against Raquel that she wound up losing due to the distraction of Asuka and Kairi Sane. And it's so funny. My dad was talking last night about how she feels like Rhea Ripley, about how he feels like Rhea Ripley might need a faction to go up against Jade and her baddies, B-Fab and Michin. And I low-key feel like with Io sort of trying to be the voice of reason and trying to pull Kairi out of an abusive situation, what if Kairi and Io actually teamed up and evened the odds um, on behalf of Rhea at WrestleMania? I just think that would be an interesting dynamic there. Plus, not to mention, it's clear that Io still has some sympathy for what Kairi is going through with Asuka. So a part of me is just wondering if that's what's happening here, or if at some point it's going to lead to Io and Asuka fighting each other. I don't know. But either way, I feel like that's low key my theory for that. But of course, if I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. But there seems to be a dynamic happening with Kairi Sane and Io Sky where it's like they're looking, it's like Io is really looking to pull her into a better friendship that isn't as toxic as the one she has with Asuka. And I can't wait to see how that plays out within the coming weeks. Now, when it comes to more of what the men got going on, however, I love the fact that LA Knight broke into Asho Speed's house and attacked him on stream. And let me just say, Zelina Vega and Bianca Belair did it first, and it was hilarious. But this one was just as hilarious as well. So this was really funny, and maybe this means that somewhere down the line we might either get a singles match between them two, or it might be like a tag situation with ISHO Speed and the Vision going up against LA Knight and the Usos. I don't know. But either way, it's going to be really interesting to see how this turns out. ISHO Speed is very athletic, and I just love the example that he sets in terms of, you know, his level of positivity in the streaming community. Um, I hate that he's linked up with Logan Paul because I just don't like the Paul brothers as a whole. But either way, you know, I understand why, but still. Um, I just can't wait to see what ISHO Speed is going to have going on against LA Knight, considering he attacked him in his house. Also, shout out to the Monkey D. Luffy picture in the back because I'm becoming a fan of One Piece, the live action version. Because God knows I rarely have. I don't know how I'm gonna make time for the anime. But either way, I love Monkey D. Luffy, and I will run through a brick wall for that anime character. So yeah, this was funny. I have a comment. Oh, well, yeah. And also, this was something that had me in a chokehold. Oba Femi tossing this security officer as he was on his way to the ring to fight pumpkin-headed Brock. This had me in an absolute chokehold all week long. Do you know how strong you gotta be to pick up a whole person and throw them? This is Oba Femi's world, and we're just living in it. I, there are just no other words in the dictionary to define the level of strength that Obafemi has. Like, I wish he could lift me just so I can see what it's like. I don't want him to throw me. I just want him to lift me just so I can see what it's like to be lifted by a person that's strong. That would be so nuts. But he really picked this man up and tossed him into the lights. Like, what do you mean? I love it. I love it. This has just been the most craziest road to WrestleMania I have ever seen. It's been crash out behavior, hence the name of the episode being Crash Out Symphony. Also, shout out to Ray because she's the one who inspired the name of the episode. It's just been a crash out road to WrestleMania, and this is one of the prime examples right here. Obafemi throwing a whole security guard. I love him. I love Obafemi so much. I just love him. I love him so much. Oh my god. And also, I want to give my flowers to Kofi Kingston because his match against Penta was really good for the Intercontinental Championship. I think they said on commentary that he had not challenged for the Intercontinental Championship in like over 10 years. And that's crazy to think about. But yeah, Kofi Kingston, for all the crap that people give him, this man is literally a Grand Slam champion. And more respect in terms of more flowers need to be given to him. Here again, where black wrestlers deserve more flowers, he definitely does. Okay. So yeah, Mr. Man put on a heck of a show against Penta. And while Grayson Waller was out there with his alliance with the Dark New Day, Kofi was yelling at Grayson Waller and calling him stupid and stuff and telling him to move out of the way because he wanted to do this on his own. And it's making me wonder, is Kofi Kingston about to go through a face turn in the absence of Xavier Woods? Because there was that one point where we did see him on Raw in the background talking to Javon, and he was trying to recruit Javon, but then maybe there's a part of me that feels like maybe Javon Evans is going to influence Kofi in the positive, and then we'll see like a newer version of Kofi, of Happy Kofi. I'm hoping so. I don't know. I just want to see Happy Kofi again because I love him and I just want to see him be happy again because I just miss him. And then with all the stuff that people are talking about with WrestleMania memories and talking about his place in WrestleMania history with Kofi Mania, it's just making me nostalgic for Happy New Day. So maybe him talking to Javon is sort of making him want to be better. I don't know, but maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part. But either way, this match was fantastic. And it led to Penta announcing that the Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania is going to be a ladder match, which kind of gave me shades of that ladder match that happened for the IC title, I think in Texas. If it wasn't in Texas, it was in California. One of the two. But either way, I'm excited about that. But Kofi deserves more flowers, and I want to see him be a face again. So, yeah. And also, is Gunther finna retire Seth Rollins? I'm scared because he wants to challenge Seth. And this was also very random too. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be a great match regardless. But is Seth about to retire? Because lately Gunther has just been fighting people who are getting ready to retire. And it's just like, is Seth, you just got back from injury. Are you trying to allude to something here? Because I don't think my heart can take another retirement. Please, Seth, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. Gunther will not be retiring you. I speak against it right now in the name of Jesus. You can't leave me. You can't leave. And I think really that's all. That's really all I enjoyed in wrestling this week. So we've reached the end of our time together. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. I hope, you are going to listen to it if you didn't watch it. You can listen to it on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. I think Amazon Podcasts as well. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with the logo over there in the corner with HWP in the middle of a diamond-shaped ring. You can also follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. And follow the show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast and on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. And of course, if you want to book your girl for commentary or for any conventions of sorts that you might be having, if you want somebody to talk about wrestling, I'm your girl. You can book me, whether it's in Alabama or anywhere else. I do travel. So if you want your girl to be a part of your panel or a part of your wrestling show, I am more than happy to do so and serve in any and all areas you need me for, because I want to use more of my voice this year. So yeah, just be on the lookout, because you just never know where I might show up. I will not be going to Vegas for WrestleMania this year. I have been around Vegas, well, not Vegas. I've been around WrestleMania for 3 years in a row, and this is the year I'm taking a break. But either way, be on the lookout for any announcements involving more content involving WrestleMania, because I have to celebrate it, because this is my favorite part, my favorite time of the year anyway. So it's going to be cool. So just be on the lookout for that. So, of course, this has been the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl, Stephanie Hardy. I hope you have a fantastic Easter weekend if you acknowledge that in any way, shape, or form, or a great holiday weekend or whatever. And until next time, bye, y'all.